another Tonic Craft Kit unboxing video. Today's one is for kit number 69 and it is called Whimsical Wonderland. So you can probably tell that this is the first Christmassy kit for this year from Tonic. I can't remember if they usually do one or two, but this is either the first one or the only Christmas one for this year. But it's a beautiful die set in here that allows you to create what I'm presuming they're supposed to be gingerbread houses, but you can definitely make them just look like regular houses as well. And you've got all sorts of different bits and pieces to create scenes and stuff, and you can do die cut ones, you can add stamps into them as well. You can just use some tree sort of elements by themselves too, and you've got a lovely selection of different sentiments in there as well. So let's get on with the unboxing. So first of all, we've got a lovely bag of Nuvo goodies, which I'll tip out. So we've got a pretty decent amount of Nuvo goodies this month. Firstly, we have got a full-sized brown ink pad. This is the Acorn brown, one of those original 7 large ink pads that they had. It's a really gorgeous brown kind of tone, very good for doing like vintagey style cards and projects and stuff as well. So if you've never had one of the large ink pads before, they're very useful for, you know, covering a larger stamp really easily rather than having to tap tons of times with the tiny little ink pad. But the large ones are just exactly the same as the little cube ones that they brought out. It's just obviously in a larger format. I'm not sure if you can actually get the Acorn brown in a small ink pad. I know they did the clear mark, the black and the grey, but I don't think they ever did the Acorn brown unless we had it as an exclusive little mini one in a kit. I don't think it's been in any of the little sets of 3 that they've done, so you might not have seen Acorn brown before if you didn't know they had big ink pads before they did the mini ones as well. But beautiful brown colour. Obviously not very interesting to look at the ink pad, but a really decent sized ink pad, and I love that it has these pieces on the side, so it's really easy to grip and you don't feel like you're going to drop it or anything when you're inking up with it. Plus you also don't feel like you're going to touch the pad with your fingers because you've got that extra bit of plastic here. You don't really feel like you're going to get really inky fingers when you're holding the pad as well, which is nice. So that is the full-size Nuvo hybrid ink pad that we're getting in this month's kit, Acorn brown. We're also getting a full-size bottle of Nuvo glitter accents. Now I got fresh Snowfall, but it's going to be an option between getting fresh Snowfall or Aztec Gold. I think it's called Aztec Gold. I don't actually have that one, weirdly enough. I don't have it in my stash, but it's a beautiful gold colour. So you'll either be getting the gorgeous fresh Snowfall, which is the one I've got here, which is perfect for adding snowy accents to the little houses that you can make in this month's kit, or you'll be getting the gold one. But glitter accents, I don't know if I've ever done a full video on glitter accents, but we've had a few different bottles in kits or in colour trends over the years, and they're basically they're kind of like a Nuvo glitter drop, but they're in a larger bottle. They have a larger nozzle to dispense them because it's got thicker chunks of glitter in there, and when it actually dries, the suspension that is like surrounding all the glitter actually shrinks away from the glitter, so they feel textured, whereas with a Nuvo glitter drop you get that beautiful dome still. When you use glitter accent you get that textured kind of effect, so it looks really great for snow. And if you have the gold version of it, you can do it as like gorgeous like splattery stars in the sky, because you can water this down and splatter with it as well if you want to. You could just use it to create different backgrounds, or you can use it to accent like little baubles on the Christmas trees as well. So that is the full-size drop of fresh Snowfall, or I think it's the Aztec Gold that you might get. There's a little option there that's a possibility that you might get, so it's a little bit of a surprise. Then there's also another either or kind of option. We're getting a full-size bottle of the Nuvo Mica Mist. I got the pearled ivory colour, which is a beautiful, really subtle pearled ivory kind of a colour. It looks quite yellow in the bottle, but it is really subtle, kind of a pearly sort of colour, that warm toned pearl sort of colour. But the other option is the Beryl Swirl as well, so you might be getting a green or you might be getting a pearly yellowy kind of a colour, but there's the 2 options that you might be getting in your kit. I have done a video in the past on Mica Mist. I think I did it in conjunction with Nuvo Shimmer Powders, and I've also shown different techniques over the years with different tutorials and sped up videos and all sorts with the mica mist as well. One of my favourite ways to use it is just to tip a little bit out of the bottle and splat it with a paintbrush, which I've done in a couple of the cards. You can also just do like a loose watercolour wash with it. If you don't like the mess of a spray, you don't have to use it as a spray at all. And you know, it's a versatile kind of product. Just think of it as like a liquid watercolour. You don't actually have to spray it at all ever if you don't want to, but you can also spray it through a stencil and get really cool effects. You can just spray it and get a lighter coverage across a patterned paper to maybe give it that pearlescent kind of feel. Lots of ways of using your mica mists, but this one that I got, the Pearled Ivory, is really gorgeous and mixes really nicely with the other Nuvo items that I got in my kit as well. So there's that kind of option, either Pearled Ivory or Beryl Swirl. Then you're also getting a full-sized Nuvo vintage drop, and this is the stunning Gilded Gold. So it's like a slightly more vintage tone gold. If you do get the gold glitter accents in your kit, that's a very bright kind of gold, whereas this is more of a vintage tone of a gold, and it looks really, really gorgeous mixed in with the mica if you get this Pearled Ivory one. Those two look fantastic together. They're both on that sort of more vintage Christmas kind of a look, so if you love that kind of style, these will be absolutely perfect for you there. But really gorgeous Nuvo drop. And the vintage drops, I think, is this the only vintage drop that has that pearlescent finish to it? I think it might be. I seem to remember saying that before. I think this one must have come out in that black and gold colour trend from last year, but usually a vintage drop dries matte, just like a matte colour, with like a matte satin kind of sheen to it, but this one actually gives a sort of matte pearlescent kind of finish, so kind of like the satin mirror card that Tonic do. It gives that kind of a finish with that beautiful vintage gold kind of colour. So if you've never tried this one before, it's a really nice one to have, and perfect for Christmas or for golden wedding anniversaries, or doing that black and gold kind of colour scheme. All sorts of different ways that you can use this beautiful vintage drop. And obviously you can use them just like a normal Nuvo drop and just do your little pearls to add as accents. Again, you could use them as like bauble accents on the Christmas trees. You can do it as falling snow, or you can actually create a whole background using your Nuvo vintage drops. One of the backgrounds for my cards, I combined all three of these Nuvo elements together, and I got a kind of background that looks like this. So it's kind of like one of my Nuvo squishy sort of backgrounds, but the mica mist is sort of filling in the rest of the background, so it's got that pearlescent finish in the background, and the glitter accents gives it that texture as well. So you can get different kind of effects if you mix different sort of Nuvo products together to create this kind of squishy effect. And I have done a tutorial on this. One of the first ones, I think it was called Linear Nuvo Drop Squish or something like that. That kind of effect. I've just switched out whatever Nuvo products I've used in there, and I've added on a bit of that mica mist just to give that pearlescent finish in the background of the card. And you can see how it pulls around the drops as well to give a different finish too. So you can combine all of these to create gorgeous backgrounds as well. And then we're also getting a Nuvo glitter marker. So I have done lots with these in the past, probably in little kit videos rather than full-on main videos, although I'm sure I did do one a while back. This is called Iced Ivy, and when you get your Nuvo glitter markers, they have a white nib in them, and all you have to do is just push them down on your mat to activate and get all of that glitter coming through. I said before exactly how to activate them, but the way I do it is I push it down on my mat, wait a little bit. Sometimes the ink will just completely start flowing through straight away, sometimes it takes longer. Then I put the lid back on, shake it, and then sometimes that has made the ink completely fill the nib, and then it's perfect to go. Or if it hasn't filled the nib, then you just press it back down again and repeat the process. But make sure you put the lid on when you shake it, just in case lots of the ink splurts out the end of it as well. For my samples in this kit, I have only used them in like a splattering capacity, or a little bit of watercolouring, or using them to like outline something to give it a coloured outline. But you can also stamp with your Nuvo glitter markers as well. You just have your stamp flat, and then you hold it to the side of the nib rather than colouring up and down. You hold it to the side to have more coverage, and then you can either like huff on it to you know, reactivate any ink that might have started to dry a little bit, or you can spray a spritz of water from far away and then stamp it as well. But I have done that before in sped up videos, I'm pretty sure. But this is the Iced Ivory colour. Iced Ivy, not Iced Ivory. Iced Ivy, and it's a beautiful green tone. Then this month we're also getting another binder, so it's that time again to get another binder to keep all of our kits in. They hold like 3 to 4 depending how many you want to put in there, and we have the beautiful white binder again, or still, with the gorgeous like silver foiling and sort of silver accents on the front of it. So we've got that. Then we also have a 6x6 pack of Craft Perfect, and they did do these a while ago. I think they've changed the names of them. I don't think they were the same. They definitely looked different, so maybe they've just changed the like font of all of the information on the front of the packaging. But these are fantastic, these pads. You get, how many sheets do you get altogether? 24 sheets in here. There are 4 different colours and you get 6 of each sheet. So they're really great value for money if you want to buy any of these individually. They do different colourways of them, but if you like to make smaller cards like I do, and maybe you don't want, you know, to have to buy tons of packets of A4 cardstock to use, these have a mixture of the different A4 cardstocks that they already do, but they're in a smaller format, so you get them in the little 6x6 pads. Maybe you just love having 6x6 pads because you can keep them next to your desk, you know, they don't take up as much room, they're not as awkward to kind of store because they're, you know, larger sheets, they're a nice small size. You can get a variety in these packs. So this one actually has 2 different mirror cards, so like the high shine mirror cards in holly green and emerald green, and then it also has 2 of their satin mirror cards in smooth mint and flourishing green. So the first one is the holly green, which is a gorgeous slightly more vintage tone green, I would say. Then we have the flourishing green, which is the satin, the satin green card, a sort of deeper emeraldy satin kind of colour. Then we have the next satin colour, which is the smooth mint. So this is like a really subtle green kind of tone. It's very nice for Easter, this kind of a colour, but also great for mixing in different colours of foliage. Not necessarily with this kit, but if you had some holly leaves or perhaps ivy leaves or something that you wanted to create a wreath out of, having one set like this and just picking out one sheet of each of the cardstocks, cutting a bunch of different ones in the different colours and mixing them together will give a really lovely variation to the kind of green tones that you're using in a wreath as well. And then the final one is the emerald green, which is a really bright kind of green tone of mirror cardstock. So you can, I don't know if I can show them both together. I've still got some scraps up here actually. If I pick one of these out, which one's this? That's the holly green, so I can show you the holly green against the emerald green. You can see the difference. Holly green's a little bit more of a yellowy kind of toned green, and that's what makes me think it's slightly more on the vintage sort of side. So you've got the different tones in there. So then we have also got the cardstock, and then I'll go through the stamps and dies, which is probably what you've all been waiting for, but I like to leave them till the end. So cardstock wise, I was being lazy and I couldn't bother to go through my stash and find another sheet of each of the cardstock to use for my samples, so I did just cut them all in half. So you will be getting A4 sheets of these, but I've just cut all mine in half because I wanted to use them on my project, but I still wanted to have a piece here to show you all of the different colours. So we've got a lovely selection of 8 different A4 sheets of cardstock. We've got 4 of the classic textured cardstock. So we've got spearmint green, candy red, ginger pie and fern green, all with that beautiful texture on them. So you can see they've got that lovely linen texture to them, but the other side of the colour is smooth if you'd rather, or if you want to stamp on it, the smooth side is better. Or actually, if you're using them in embossing folders, the smooth side is better to emboss, because otherwise when you add like mousse and stuff over the top, you get that texture and it kind of detracts from whatever the embossed design is that you've embossed in it. So that's just a top tip if you're ever embossing with Tonic's Texture Craft Perfect. And then we've also got 4 specialty cardstocks as well. So this one is Snowbound, which again I think came out in that black and gold colour trend, which I think was called Christmas Magic. It's kind of like Santa's hat, but it's the white version of it. If you had the Merry and Bright colour trend from a couple of years ago that had a red version of this, that one was called Santa's hat. But this one is called Snowbound. A really gorgeous, subtle, again, slightly pearly, but actually has a sort of green tinge to it actually. When the light shines on it, you can kind of see there's a greeny tinge to it. But if you have the pearled ivory mica mist in your kit, they go really nicely together. They accent each other really nicely. Then we've also got a foiled craft card. So it's white craft card with a red candy stripe on it, and it is called Candy Stripe as well. So it's got a red foiled candy stripe design on the white craft card. Really, really gorgeous. And there are some candy cane dies in the die set, and they look fantastic. If you get them in the right orientation, they look fantastic, just cut directly out of this, and then you don't have to fuss with colouring the stripes onto the candy cane, which is really good. Then we have got a sheet of glitter cardstock, which is called Silver Screen. The beautiful solid silver, just silver in there as well, which is nice. So it's a proper pure silver kind of cardstock. There's no other flecks of different colours in there. And then we also have a sheet of Holo Waves, which is one of my absolute favourite cardstocks. This came out in the Dreaming colour trend, and that was like 2019, so this has been around quite a long time, but it's absolutely beautiful. The camera does make it look more rainbow. When I'm seeing this in person, it's not quite as crazy rainbow as that, but I just love the kind of, it's almost like a silver mirror card, but you get those hints of rainbow, and cameras really love it, and they really turn it into a vibrant kind of rainbow cardstock. But I absolutely adore this one, and it's perfect for Christmas, adding those little accents in. So those are all of the cardstocks, 8 different ones, 4 textured and 4 speciality, and you'll be getting A4 sheets of those in the new newly designed A4 folder as well. And then finally, what you've all been waiting for, the stamps and dies from the kit as well. And I have put mine on an A5 magnetic sheet, which are the ones that Tonic sell with the pouches to go with them. I think they're currently on offer at the moment. I'm sure I saw you can get 2 packs of 6, so that'll be 12, for like £14 something. So pretty decent deal on those if you did want to get them. And they come with the magnetic sheets and the A5 pouches with the ring binder holes as well. So if you did want to put them into pouches, you can do that too. This is the gorgeous stamps and dies from this month's kit, and I've got the sticker, really gorgeous little sticker with the gingerbread men, and these are all elements that are featuring in this stamp and die set, which is lovely. So you've got those beautiful Christmas trees, you've got the little front door. Oh, I didn't even colour mine like that. I didn't think to colour it like that. You've got like candy cane stripes going around the door. I think I just coloured it brown on mine, but I didn't even think to colour it candy cane stripes. And you've got the gorgeous little gingerbread man and woman as well, which you've got in the stamp set too, and the gorgeous little sweet as well. So that's the lovely little sticker. So let's have a look at the stamp set first, and then when we're going through the die set, I'll show you which ones coordinate with the stamps as well. So in this stamp set, let's put it up this way, I think that's the right way up, we have got gorgeous little accent designs that you can use to decorate your house. You can also use a lot of these individually as well, and you could even, if you like your doodling, you could stamp some of these and doodle your own house around them as well if you wanted to, or you can use them in conjunction with the dies. So you've got all sorts of different options with these, which is lovely. And we've got lots of gorgeous little icons. So we've got like this sort of like, could be a snowflake, could be a pom-pom on the top of a hat. You've got this double looking star, which I automatically thought it's a biscuit with icing on the top, but you can make it whatever you want it to be. It could just be a beautiful hanging star decoration. You've got a gorgeous like peppermint swirl kind of design. Sorry, that's a bit offset on the actual packaging. You've got like a little jelly top kind of design, or a little fruit pastel, or gumdrop buttons as well, like, you know, from Shrek with the gingerbread man. It's got little gumdrop buttons, so you can add loads of these to your houses and really make them look like a gingerbread house that's been decorated. You've got a gorgeous little sweet in a wrapper as well, so that could be a chocolate, or it could be a mint, or it can be anything that you want it to be. It can just be another little element to stamp and bring in a different colour that's not quite balanced across your card as well, so I love those kind of elements. We've also got 2 gingerbread men, or a gingerbread woman who's got little eyelashes and she's wearing a dress, and then you've got a little gingerbread man as well. So both really nice to have to do a mixture on a card, or just stick with one, whichever you prefer. And then we've also got 2 candy canes that go in opposite directions to each other as well, and these look really nice either side of the house. So you've got 2 beautiful candy cane stamps, and you do also have the dies, so you can actually cut out the stamps if you want to, or you can just use the dies by themselves, whichever you'd prefer. And then we have a couple of extra sort of like I'm thinking that these are maybe like piped icing, you know, to decorate a house. You'd sort of do like gorgeous piped royal icing to go on a gingerbread house. I feel like this is probably what these are supposed to represent, and I'm sure that you could use them with this to kind of fill in more of the detail on a stamped house if you want to as well. But they're also just gorgeous swirly kind of designs that could indicate a breeze, or, you know, a gust of snow, a flurry of snow or something. So gorgeous little ones, and you've got both handedness of them so that you could use them in the roof section of a house. I'm pretty sure they've got like an angle to them, so it would look nice if you put them back to back on a roof section of a house. And then we have got this gorgeous one here, which is like a 3-storey, or I guess 4-storey really, because the door would be the bottom floor. But you've got like a 4-storey little house with different little windows. Some of them are open, some have got icicles, they've all got snow on top of them. There's holly in one of them, there's curtains in another one, and then you've got that gorgeous little front door down the bottom as well. So if you don't particularly want to do a lot of die cutting on your house, or maybe you don't want the die cut features that are in the die set, you can actually just stamp on some detail as well and create a little house like that. And if you do like doing your doodling, you could just partially stamp this and doodle a smaller little gingerbread house around the edge of it as well if you want to. So lots of different ways of sort of like altering the stamps in this set to create whatever sort of look you're going for as well. And you could obviously also maybe just ink up the windows and stamp them again, or one more on either side to kind of elongate the width of the house, but still just have the one front door on the house as well. Then we have, how many do we have? 6 different sentiments on here. So we've got From Our Home to Yours, which is perfect for little houses. We've got Sweet Season's Greetings, which is perfect for all the little sweeties in there. Warm Winter Wishes, I love that as a Christmas sentiment. 'Tis the Season to be Jolly. Merry Christmas, and Oh What Fun as well. So a lovely selection of gorgeous little Christmassy kind of traditional sort of ones, and ones that sort of go with some of the elements in the stamp set or the die set as well. Then let's go through the ones that coordinate first with the dies. So you might be thinking, oh, I love those gingerbread men, but I want to be able to cut them out. So you do have the die to be able to cut out either of those gingerbread people. They've drawn them with the same outside edge, so you can cut out the little masculine one or the feminine one as well. So really easy to cut those out. Then you also have the candy cane dies. So, oh, I need a magnet to pick them up. We've got both handedness of the candy canes, and these will work to cut them out. And the way they have done the dies, you can see the black stamped areas through the apertures in the die, so it makes it really easy to die cut those out even after you've stamped them. Or you can die cut the blanks first and use the technique of stamping through the aperture, lining up the aperture over the top and putting a blank die cut back in to line up all of your stamping. I do need to do a tutorial on that as well, but you can definitely do that way as well, whichever you prefer. So you've got the candy cane dies. Then you do also have as well the triangular tree die too. So that gorgeous triangle. Oh, did I even mention that tree? I think I skipped the tree out. You also get that gorgeous little tree as well with wiggly rows of icing on it, and you get the die to cut that out too. Although this could be like skinny bunting as well, long skinny bunting, or the flag on the top of you can make a gingerbread castle and have that as the flag on the top of the gingerbread castle as well. But I think it's designed to be a tree. That's what I used it as. And you've got the die to cut that out as well. Then the other elements that you have the dies for, I mean, I guess you do have the die for that peppermint swirl kind of a sweet, because, sorry, I've got a different die stuck to that now, because you have this small die that works with one of the other ones that would perfectly cut that out as well. So if you do want to cut out lots of those peppermint sweets, you do have a circle that works with that. And then, yeah, rest of the dies wise, it's actually some sentiments that you have dies for. So the 3 sort of like stacked sentiments that are the Sweet Season's Greetings, Warm Winter Wishes, and 'Tis the Season to be Jolly, you actually have double stacked dies for these. So you have this outside edge, which again works perfectly around the stamped image, so you don't have to die cut first and then stamp. You can stamp and then die cut, whichever you prefer. But you have the 3 dies that go around those. So you can perfectly cut them out, and I have cut this one out to show you on a project. But you not only do you just have the ones that cut them out, you also have 3 extra bubbles which are a few millimetres bigger all the way around, so you can put a different colour of cardstock behind them, or colour them with a pencil or an alcohol pen that you've used to colour in elements to tie the colours together, which I think is really lovely. And I don't think it's something that they have done before, not with a stamped sentiment. You see it with die cut sentiments. This is the part that I would call the bubble, but I don't think you really see it that often with stamped sentiments, so it's a nice different kind of aspect within this die set as well. So you have the sort of little bubble to go around. If I just show you with that warm winter wishes there, so you can cut that out like so, lines up perfectly, but then you also have the extra bubble to go around the edge. And I have got the Sweet Seasons Greetings cut out on one of my cards to show you that as well. But that's how beautiful that kind of double die sort of works. I can show you them like this as well, so you can see, I think it's probably about a 3mm border all the way around that it will give you. So yeah, really lovely, nice way to just sort of accent your sentiment, or you could recess it down into your card as well. You could cut this out as the aperture, and then you could die cut your sentiment out and recess it behind, or you could do some like double aperture things, just having this as an aperture around your stamp sentiment and then having like a frame around that, or, you know, recessing it down 2 levels. All sorts of different things you can do with having these dies to go with those sentiments as well. So, back to the actual die set. The die that cuts out that tree, you also have a detail that cuts into the tree as well. So you've got these gorgeous like little pushed in sort of bauble or Christmas tree lights looking design, which looks really, really lovely. I have used that on one of my cards as well. You could definitely accent this with either tiny little Nuvo drops, just poking a pen into those little divots, or you could also do real stitching through them as well. They don't quite make a hole through, but you could easily poke a beading needle through and actually stitch through that if you wanted to. So we've got that. I've already shown you the 2 candy canes that they die cut out those ones, but they also have gorgeous stitched detail on them as well. And I'll show you them die cut from the candy striped cardstock as well on one of the cards that I've done. But they have that beautiful stitched detail on them. So really, really lovely little candy canes. And I love that you get them facing in both directions as well. Then let's go with the trees next. I love these trees. You've got this beautiful tall tree, really gorgeous curly kind of design, really, really nice. I really like that one, and I think that you could definitely add your Nuvo drops as baubles on this tree once you've die cut it, or you can easily put that fresh Snowfall glitter accents and make it look like snow on the tree as well. And obviously you've got a lovely selection of green cardstocks to cut them from too, which is nice. Then you also have these trees here, which you can use individually, but they do also stack on top of each other, and I've used them stacked on top of each other and they look fantastic. And this one's got gorgeous curly details on the sides of it, and this interior one you can run through with your green rubber mat and really push those bauble details out, or if you just run it through on the normal sandwich, you can just about see where those baubles are, and you could use that as placement of where to put your Nuvo drops or glitter accents, whichever you would prefer to put on there. But really, really lovely trees. So we technically got 4 different trees in this die set. But as the name says, the Whimsical Wonderland, these are really whimsical looking trees, which are really, really lovely. For my card, I did actually just hand cut little trunks for them, but you do also have this die here, which I think maybe is supposed to sort of be a base piece or something for one of the houses, but this could definitely be used as a trunk, and you could just lengthen it or shorten it depending how tall you want your trees to be. And you also have a couple of pieces that are for the chimneys, but you could also use them as tree trunks as well. I'll show you them in more detail in a second, but those could also be used as tree trunks if you don't use them as a chimney. Then we have 2 little houses. So we've got this gorgeous little house here, which actually, is that the same size? It is slightly different. I was thinking maybe you could layer them up on top of each other, but it's a slightly different size. Gorgeous little house that has that beautiful cut detail on the intricate one, which is what made me think these are supposed to be gingerbread houses, because they've got that gorgeous detail in them, and because you get that ginger pie cardstock in the kit. The way I did mine is I cut the base piece from the ginger and the detail piece from that snowbound cardstock and layered them up so it looks like icing onto the gingerbread house. But really, really gorgeous intricate designs in there. And that little door that's on this one, you also have the separate die to create a three-dimensional door for this. So you've got the backing piece and the little door detail as well. So you can 3D up the die, which is the door, which is really nice. A lovely way of adding extra detail. And I'm presuming this is the chimney for that house, a gorgeous little chimney like this, although that way up could be the tree trunk as well for one of your trees, so you can use it in different ways. Then the next house we have is this gorgeous, much taller house. Again, has beautiful details that cut into it, gorgeous little swirls, this little trio of windows up here, and this one has a taller front door with this kind of porch piece on it. So on my one I actually cut that porch piece off and decoupaged it on top, so we actually have a 3D aspect to this house as well. And obviously you can add on different embellishments to this too. This almost looks like it has candy canes holding up that porch, so you could add those candy canes on top of the house, you can add them next to the house, however you want to do it. And with both of these houses, I should bring this one back in to show, we have got different roof pieces as well. So you have this piece here that cuts your main roof that works on either of them. Gorgeous little whimsical kind of roof. But then you can also have two different details to cut into that as well. One with the heart and the little squiggles of icing, and then one that's more a lattice waffly kind of looking roof line as well. And as well as that, you can either just use this piece or you can layer this piece on top of the already cut roof, and this gives you beautiful dripping icicles. And that fresh snowfall, if you get that one in the kit, looks fantastic as snow on top of that as well. Looks really, really lovely. So you've got all of those pieces for the roof portions of your houses. Oh, and for the taller house as well, you have this piece, which I think is supposed to be the chimney for this one. That's how I used it. I didn't actually use the interior detail on it though. I did just decide to use it by itself as a chimney, but you've got that interior detail as well that you can use to cut into that. Then, when I showed you before the gingerbread man that cuts out the two gingerbread people from the stamps, you also have a die cut version as well. So you've got a die cut gingerbread face with person wearing with a face, wearing a bow tie, and has got buttons as well. So you can do whichever option you prefer. If die cutting works better on your card, you can die cut them. If stamping works better, you've got two different options with your stamps as well, and you can die cut them out as well, which is really nice. So those are fantastic. You could also use these as shaker elements in a large shaker card as well. You can cut either die cut them out, or stamp and die cut them out as like shaker elements. They'd look really lovely. Then we also have different kind of like sweet elements. So you've got these gorgeous like swirly pepperminty kind of sweets here, where you've got the outside circle and that interior detail that you can use with that as well. And then you also have a smaller version which gives you that peppermint swirl kind of design with the outside edge and the inside edge, but as well as using that with that, you can also use the outside edge to cut this die to give you a circular window, which I used on that small house. I put it on the top here on this small house, but you've got that option as well for decoration. Then you also have this little trio of stars, so 3 different stars together, all little 5-pointed stars. Some are pointier than others, some are chubbier than others, but beautiful for a little scattering across your card. And I love that all 3 of them are joined together, so it makes it so much easier for running them through your die cutting machine. You don't feel like you're going to lose those little star dies, you've got them all together. Then you also have this piece, which is a bow with a ribbon running down from it that you can put on this one, which is a little wonky whimsical kind of present, and then you can die cut this and have your little bow on there and put it at the bottom of your Christmas trees. So a lovely way of decorating those. And then you also have a banner So you've got this gorgeous like swirly, scrolly kind of banner. It looks really lovely actually, and you can put a second one underneath and kind of like slightly twist it a little bit, and then you get the different colour poking out from above and below, which looks really lovely too. And this little banner fits all of these longer sentiments, so you can put Merry Christmas, Oh What Fun, and From Our Home to Yours. All three of those fit inside this banner, which is why there aren't separate dies to cut those out like there are for the others, because those will fit inside this banner. And then the final die that is on here is this one that looks like a roof, and there is actually this other die which I couldn't get to fit on the actual sheet, so I'm not sure if I've got some random extra die that's not supposed to be in there. But I think if you do get these two dies, this is like a roof kind of design, and then I think this is supposed to be the base of the house, whichever way up, probably this way up actually, to kind of create a little house kind of element. But I'm not sure if this is supposed to be in there or whether it's an extra one, because there's nothing to go inside it to be detailed, so I'm not 100% sure about that. You better check out Tonic's official unboxing video to see exactly what the dies are that are in here. But I just seem to have that random extra die. But this one is to create a roof, so you could use this as a roof element to go on top of your stamped house if you want to. And again, what I was saying about like stamping an extra row of windows or something, or doing one extra row either side of here without the front door to make a wider house would look really lovely with that as a roof. But I actually just used this piece twice on top of each other, one this way up and one this way up, to create an aperture in my card, and I really like how that looked as well. So you've got options with this peculiar sort of roof shaped kind of piece with that pattern that goes inside it as well. You can just use it as a aperture kind of piece on your cards, and also these bits will fall away and give you like sort of like icing elements, like little scallops of icing that you could use to decorate other areas of any of your other projects as well. So I really like those pieces that would fall away out of that too. So I'm going to put all these away before I lose them, and then I'll come back and show you the 7 different cards that I've got to show you as well. Okay, so these are the cards that I have created. This first one, I used the Pearled Ivory Mica Mist to do a sort of really messy brushstrokey kind of background with some splatter, and then I also did tiny little Nuvo drops and splattered some Nuvo drops as well, because if you didn't know, you can squeeze out some Nuvo drop, add a bit of water, mix it up and splatter it as well, but just make sure you really wash out your paintbrush so it doesn't dry in there. But you can get splattery effects with your Nuvo drops too. I just wanted a really organic kind of background, and if you got the Aztec Gold glitter accents in your kit, instead of doing the fresh Snowfall, because I've made the snow look gold, it wouldn't look out of place if you'd used the Aztec Gold kind of colour as the snow at the bottom of the card as well, so you can definitely do that too. But this is showing how you can create your house with the stamps. So I have die cut out the trees, and I have die cut out the base bit of the house and the roof and the icicles, but you've got your stamps to be able to decorate with, and I just did some alcohol pen colouring on this card to add in all of the colours, and I've just done warm winter wishes. But although you get the dies to cut out those sentiments, you don't have to use them. If you want the sentiment to be more blocky, you can definitely just cut it out in a block as well. It doesn't mean because you have the dies that you have to cut them out that way. You can still use them just in a block, which is nice as well. But I have used them die cut on one of the other cards to show you that too. But this is sort of like the stamped version of the house that you can create using this taller, skinnier house as the design. But if you wanted to use the shorter, squatter house, you can just mask off different areas of the windows and the door to put them on there, or you can use that other roof kind of shape and add wider sort of spacings of windows and stuff on there as well to create a house with that too. But I just wanted to show that kind of effect, and for this one I stamped with black ink to do all of the inking, but on the other ones where I've stamped I have used the acorn brown ink in the background. And to get this subtle colouring on the tree, I stamped onto white card on the tree, on the house, I stamped onto white cardstock, but I then used some of the acorn brown ink and one of the Nuvo ink blending brushes just to add on some subtle ink blending as well, to add a bit of colour onto that too. So that's the first one. I must remember not to put another card on that because this isn't quite dry down here, it's still quite thick on that. This one, I really like how this one turned out. I kept to a very monochromatic kind of colour scheme with the ginger pie cardstock, the snowbound cardstock, using the Fresh Snowfall glitter accents and the Holo Waves cardstock, and then I've also used the vintage drops, the Fresh Snowfall and the mica in the background, mica mist. But even though I've used all of that, it's very monochrome looking, and I have mixed silver and gold together, but they still look really nice, and you can see actually how that silver catches the rainbow as you twist it in the light as well. And I just really love the look of this. It looks like a really traditional proper gingerbread house as well, and I've just done from our home to yours. But the background for this one, as I mentioned earlier, was one of my squishy kind of backgrounds, using the vintage drops, going like this with the vintage drops, and then doing the same thing with the Snowfall glitter accents, and then with the mica mist I just shook it up and tipped like little puddles on it, and then I squished the both of them together and pulled them apart, and that's what I got my two different backgrounds there. And I decided to use it completely on this one and mount the little house onto a wonky square that I just cut with my long bladed scissors. I stuck the house down first and then just did a wonky cut all the way around it, and then stuck that onto the mirror card and then did a wonky cut around that to match the wonkiness of the previous cut as well. So really simple, this one. And I cut the door and that little window twice so I could sort of raise them up as well. So that's another one. Then the next one is again showing you how to completely die cut the houses, so no stamping on any of the houses. And this one has used the little porch and, you know, pulled it forwards by die cutting it again and then raising it up a little bit too, so you've got that little bit of dimension on the porch. And looking at it now, I could have paper pieced this back in white and added some of the Fresh Snowfall glitter accents as snow there, but I hadn't used snow on the top of the house for this one, so it probably would look a little bit out of place, but you definitely could do that as well. And so for the candy canes on this one, I've used the dies to cut them out, but I've used the candy cane stripe cardstock, and you can see it looks quite nice actually just cutting them from that cardstock. It gives you, okay, they're kind of in the opposite direction than the little stitch lines are showing, but it still gives that colouring. But if you don't place it in the exact right position, it can look a little bit off, although that actually goes better with the stitching position. But you can get different looks by how you place the dies on the cardstock. So I think I place these two next to each other like that. You can see the stripes are continuing across them, so if you put them in different orientations you can get them to look the same, but they're the two opposite die cuts, if you know what I mean. So you can like place them in different places on that stripy cardstock to get them coloured in with a stripy effect. So for the rest of this card, for the chimney, instead of using the detail, I just cut one from the snowbound and one from the ginger pie, and just cut the top of the snowbound one off and stuck it on, so it just looks like a bit of icing going around the top of the chimney. Then I've scattered tons of different stars on this one. So you've got some cut from silver screen, some cut from the Holo Waves, and some cut from the emerald, oh not the emerald, the flourishing green satin cardstock as well, just to add like a really big scattering. And I've also used some of the vintage Nuvo drops on here as well. And for the sentiment, I have stamped it onto the banner, and then I've also cut one from the Candy Red, I think it's called, cardstock, and then twisted it offset so you get the little hints of red poking out in the rest of it. And I also cut the front door from that as well to tie that in, and I've also used some of the triangle trees on this one as well. So you can definitely just create your die cut houses if you want to, and using that ginger pie cardstock that we get gives them that perfect gingerbread house feel. But you can also stamp the elements onto the houses as well to give a completely different look to the house. I feel like this definitely gives a gingerbread house look, but this gives more of like a generic kind of Christmassy decorated sort of a house as well. So you can do different effects with using different elements of the kit as well. Then you can also just use those trees and create a beautiful, simple kind of card. So this would be a nice one for batch making, because you could obviously, I mean, probably 3 passes through the die cutting machine to create it, but not too difficult to batch produce these, especially if you're die cutting loads of other things for different projects. Just chuck a couple of trees on every time you're die cutting and you'd have everything you need in no time. But for this one I used the emerald green and the flourishing green from the 6x6 pad, but swapped them over. So the outside two have got the emerald green in the background and the flourishing green on top, and the inner one has got it opposite way round, so it just gives a difference in the look of the trees as well. Here's where I hand cut my own little silver screen green trunks from the silver glitter cardstock, and then I also used the stars. I used the biggest one in the middle and two of the medium-sized ones on the outside edges, and I did "Oh What Fun" as my sentiment on this one. And again, even though the "Oh What Fun" fits into that swirly banner, you can just use it as you normally would and trim it out by hand as well. So that's a really, really simple one. And I also used the Fresh Snowfall just as dots in the background for Fresh Snowfall, and also I just did a curved line along the bottom to sort of join all of the tree trunks together. I deliberately put the middle one slightly higher, so when I did this line I just made it a slight curve on there as well. Then this is the one where I've just used that funny kind of roof shape sort of die to create my aperture, and it just gives a different kind of look. And I've done "Oh What Fun," and this kind of looks like falling sweets and stuff. I've mixed in some of the stars in there as well, and I've used that candy stripe paper behind. My original idea was to use this behind, but I wanted it to be really bright and poppy, and because I had mostly neutral sort of tones of my Nuvo product, I felt like this was too neutral to go with the card that I wanted to make. But if you had the Beryl Swirl mica mist, this might look more you know, vibrant and fun, that you could put behind there as well if you did want to do that. And then this is also the card I was saying about how I use the glitter marker around the edge of the aperture on that as well, just to give a subtle green tint to it. And I also watercoloured a piece of cardstock with some watered down of the glitter marker as well to go behind the banner one as well. And I've used the "Oh What Fun" sentiment on the banner on this one. And these little sweets are the Candy Red Texture Craft Perfect with the snowbound underneath them. So you can do all sorts of different mixtures for creating sweets and stuff. But I just thought it's a really simple kind of one that could just be leftovers and things. Maybe you've cut too many of some bits and pieces. You can just create an aperture, bung some cardstock behind it, and have a scattering of elements going down your card as well. And then the final two cards are what I'm going to show you in the tutorial video. This month I haven't actually filmed the tutorial video yet. I'm going to go and film it after this one. But this is what I'm going to be showing you in this month's tutorial, how to create an all-over stamped background with all of the elements from the kit. And I've just actually realised these two, I stamped them, so I laid out some of the stamps, put the cardstock down, then put another piece of cardstock down, so I got two, and I've just realised I have put them up the other way. So even when you're doing these kind of backgrounds, you can flip them up the other way as well, because I tend to rotate things, so some of them are up the wrong way, some of them are up the right way. It doesn't really matter which way up you put them in your final card, which is nice. So both ways up of this kind of a background work really nicely. This one, I was showing how I've used coloured pencils, so the Nuvo coloured pencils, the classic coloured pencils which have the triangular barrel on them, to colour in all of the elements. I've done some loose swirly designs in the background as well. I've done a bit of watercolouring with the Nuvo glitter marker. I've done some tiny little Nuvo drops with the vintage drops on there as well, and this is where I've layered up the die cut sentiment together. And I've also inked with that acorn brown ink again with one of the ink blending tools that Tonic do as well, the precision ones. And also around the edge of this bubble, to make it match with the green, I coloured the bubble with the same green coloured pencil, and then I put some of the Nuvo glitter marker right around the edges as well, just to tie all of that together. And on this stamping here, because I've done all of the stamping in brown with the acorn brown ink, I've also used a white gel pen to sort of scribble over where those solid bits of brown are as well, to kind of add that white back into the candy canes too. And then because I had done a second version, when I was stamping, I stamped two of them, I thought, well, I might as well show you how to create an overall stamped background, but for those of you who don't like colouring, you can still create a gorgeous effect with it as well. Again, bringing in that acorn brown ink with an ink blending tool and ink blending sort of patchy brown all over it, and then I came back in with the pearled ivory mica mist and also the glitter marker, and I watered them both down and splattered them all over just to give a lovely kind of effect on there. So it just goes to show that you can do an all over stamp background, colour it if you love colouring, but if you don't love colouring, you can still do this kind of technique and get a really gorgeous kind of background from it. And you could have also just stamped onto a different colour of cardstock. You could have done heat embossing as well. You could have like stamped onto red card, heat embossed in white or something, whatever you kind of want to do. This is a nice technique. So if you want to see how this is done and how easy it is, and my tips on how to kind of do it without messing up as well, then check out my tutorial video tomorrow if you want to see how to do that. So, I hope you enjoyed this unboxing video of Tonic Craft Kit number 69, which is called the Whimsical Wonderland, and I hope you liked the kind of variety of different cards that I've shown you, how to create the house with the stamps, how to create the house just with the dies, doing the overall background, just using some of the shapes as an aperture, and just focusing on those beautiful trees and mixing in that gorgeous cardstock together as well. Hopefully you've got some ideas of how you might like to use these to create your Christmas cards. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget about the tutorial video tomorrow if you're interested in this technique, and I will see you again in the next video.